Borderline personality disorder is kind of what we're talking about when this is present in the extreme. But remember, I said that all of us are on a behavioral continuum. And you may have a lot of the characteristics that we're talking about with borderline personality disorder, but you may not have them to the extreme, or you might be married to someone or have a sibling or someone you work with that has some of these characteristics, but they don't have them all, or they don't have them to the degree that they would qualify as having the disorder. So when I talk about it, I'm talking about it in the extreme when it reaches the level of being diagnosable. And to be diagnosed, there are like 9 characteristics of the borderline personality that I went over last time. You can see them. I'll talk about them quickly here in a minute. You only have to have 5 of the 9 to get the diagnosis. But we're talking here about patterns. Somebody might have these traits or characteristics or symptoms pop up for a day or two or in crisis, but not in pattern. So that doesn't mean that they have a borderline personality disorder. It just might pop up in pattern. But it's defined as a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, or instability of self-image or emotions, and marked impulsivity. These are really impulsive people. It's usually beginning by early adulthood, and it's present in a variety of contexts. So it's not just specific to home or then specific to work. It's present in a variety of contexts. That means they're the common denominator. They take this with them wherever they go. This personality disorder is really unique in how unstable these people are in their emotions and in their relationships, with vast changes that happen really fast. Sometimes this can be confused with bipolar disorder that has mania involved in it. But the difference is, with a borderline personality, these changes can happen within an hour. They can be happy, sad, and mad all within a very short period of time for no apparent reason. You go, oh my gosh, what did I do to trigger this? The answer is probably nothing, or maybe everything, because they bring this with them. You've heard me say, when you enter into a relationship, you bring things with you that either contribute or contaminate the relationship. And people with borderline personality disorder bring this instability with them that contaminate the relationships that they get into. Impulsivity, for example. And so I'm going to talk today about how you deal with that, how you handle it. And let me tell you, these are not evil people. I always say that if you just look past the obvious emotions and ask yourself, wonder why this person is doing this, wonder why they're behaving or feeling or expressing the emotions they are, that it tends to bring out compassion in you. And that's what I'm asking you to do here. These people are miserable people much of the time. That's why they're doing what they're doing. They're not doing this to just make you miserable, although they may be making you miserable. They're miserable themselves. Just ask yourself, when you see someone like this that can't keep a relationship, that they're happy one minute, crying the next, raging the next, ask yourself what it must be like to live that way day after day, month after month, year after year, never be able to sustain a relationship, ride that emotional roller coaster all the time, what it must be like for them. So I'm asking you to be empathetic here. These people are really oftentimes in a lot of pain. And so I'm asking you to just be aware of that. So they do ride this emotional roller coaster, and as a result of these rapid swings, they try to get you on that roller coaster with them. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is how not to get on that roller coaster and how to guard against ever getting sucked in to begin with. Look, these people, when you meet them, they're going to come on really strong, really fast. They may idolize you in the very beginning, and you think, wow, this is great. I mean, you're getting love bombed. This person is loving you up and they're telling you how great and intriguing and interesting and fascinating you are. But in a very short time, they're going to likely turn on you and talk about how you have ruined everything, ruined them, rejected them, hurt them. Why did you do this to me? Let me tell you, you don't want to sit on a pedestal. It's a long way to fall. And so one of the things you can do is resist them putting you up on that pedestal. It might seem like, oh, this is fun. I like being idolized. I like being worshiped here. I like this person loving everything I say and everything I do. No, yeah, you don't, because there's no way you can live up to that, even if they weren't borderline personality, and you certainly can't live up to it if they are a borderline personality. So all relationships with these people, they get into them really fast. Everything moves real fast. They get deep into the relationship. They fall in love fast. They fall out of love fast. Look, borderline personalities live in the emotional extremes. And people that live in the emotional extremes, either extremely happy or extremely sad, they also make extreme movements. So if they live in the extremes of the emotions, then you can expect them to make radical changes because they don't populate the middle range of just, oh, that's annoying. No, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to them. That's how they react to it. So people that live in the emotional extremes make radical moves to the other emotional extreme. So they may love you one minute and be so upset with you the next that it's just terrible for you and for them. Now, they also have this same roller coaster and confusion about how they feel with regard to themselves. As I said last week, you might even actually hear them say, I don't even know who I am anymore. Maybe they never did. There's an identity disturbance with these people. These are not folks that know who they are. And think about it. How do we know other people? You have an image of other people. You have formed an opinion of other people. And how do you do that? Well, it's the same way we form our self-image. You watch what people do, right? You watch what they do. Let's say you've got somebody that you work with, and maybe they are there 15 minutes early every day. And when you get there, they're always there. You can set your watch by them. They've got the place unlocked. They've got the lights on. They got the coffee going. They've turned on the music in the place. And you just know they're going to be there every day. And if they aren't there, you think, something's wrong. Because this person is reliable as they can be. How do you assign reliability to them? How do you assign dependability to them? By watching them, and based on their patterns of behavior, you make attributions to them. You assign certain traits and characteristics to them based on your experience of them. Well, that's really hard for borderline personality people to do because they aren't consistent. They observe themselves too, and they know, wow, I can't keep a relationship. All of my relationships are filled with drama. I feel abandoned every time I get in a relationship. Everybody seems to turn away from me. I can't trust anybody. I don't have feelings of intimacy. Every time I do, I get hurt. Why is that? Well, because things that you might let roll off your back, they take so personal and they exaggerate and blow out of proportion so bad that they do feel like everybody abandons them. Everybody doesn't abandon them, but you might call and say, hey, I'm really tired today. Can I take a rain check on dinner? We were going to go out to dinner tonight. Can I take a rain check? If a friend did that with you, you might say, sure, I understand. Let's do it tomorrow night or maybe this weekend. Not somebody with a borderline personality. To them, they go, oh, you don't care about me anymore. You don't like me anymore. You don't love me anymore. You're abandoning me. So they would take something like that, get very paranoid about it, and blow it way out of proportion. So they don't have self-confidence. They don't know who they are. They don't know that they're worthy. So that really gets under their skin. They have what we call an identity disturbance. They're very unclear or shifting in their self image. And so you'll see it in their sense of self. You'll see it in their style. They might come dressed in one style one day and a completely different one the next day. They might make radical changes in their hair. They might cut their hair off. They might dye their hair different colors. I mean, radically different. So they'll change style, their fashion, their hair. They may even speak in different accents from one day to another. And you're going, oh, now, whoa, this is really strange because I know she's from Texas, but she's talking like she's from London. Well, she's not just playing a role, she's confused and she's searching for some identity, or he's playing a role. Maybe he's been influenced by somebody and he's behaving that way. And I'm saying he or she here because this affects both. I'm going to talk about some of the myths here in just a minute. Now, we also talked about last week that there are 4 subtypes here: those that are discouraged and quiet, the really impulsive ones where that's the primary characteristic. These are the ones that are energetic and charismatic. They can also be very cold and hostile, but they're easily bored. They take high-risk behaviors. They're also the ones that are into self-mutilation sometimes and are at high risk for suicidal behavior. They're very resistant to treatment. There's the petulant. These are the ones that are angry. They feel very unworthy. They tend to have more eating disorders with this particular subgroup. And then there are the self-destructive. They're the bitter, self-hatred. These are the attention seekers. And talk about high-risk behaviors. These are the reckless drivers, drugs. They're promiscuous. A lot of eating disorders here. So there are 4 different types, and those are on the website, and I talked about them last week. Now, here's the thing that you need to understand about these folks. I said to approach them with some compassion, but boundaries. These folks don't experience this in isolation. There's a lot of what we call comorbidity. It occurs with a high frequency of anxiety, depression, eating disorders, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, PTSD. It does occur with bipolar. It's often misdiagnosed, but they can have both. They can have changes that happen within the hour or within a day, and they can also be bipolar where there are cycles that take much longer to cycle around.